Hello and welcome to the sixth episode of the Bucket Lounge podcast. Today we got a fun episode. This is going to be a really, really cool, unique episode. I'm here with a friend that I met from SBC. Sean, what's going on, man? Thank you for joining me.
What's going on, Brandon? How you doing?
Good, man. So let's just dive right into it, bro. Let's go ahead first. Kevin Durant trade ideas. This topic of conversation is kind of what's been holding up the whole summer in the NBA news. We got some KD trades. I'm gonna just go right into it. I have two trades that I came up with. You tell me what you think about the deal and which one you'd prefer to do if you were the Brooklyn Nets. First trade, we're gonna do the Celtics trade. By the way, on my main channel, I did a Nets rebuild where I did something like this. The Celtics will be giving up Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, Grant Williams, and two protected first round picks. They're gonna be, I believe, top 10 protected for Kevin Durant, Seth Curry, and Daron Sharp. That's trade number one. Trade number two, we have the New Orleans Pelicans sending out Brandon Ingram, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, and three first-round picks, two of which are from the Lakers, and then one is a Milwaukee pick from 2026. Then the Pelicans will be getting Kevin Durant. And it says David Duke Jr. is on the Fanspo machine, so I'm sure that'll work out. What stands out to you? Which one would you prefer to do, and how do you think about the trades?
I like both trades. As far as the Celtics go, if we're being honest, Jason Tatum's going to be a Laker at some point in the near future. So yeah. he's a wannabe Laker already. So you might as well just send it in and try to get a championship while you're at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Pelicans have the most assets, although there's been rumors that they might go for the KD trade. I'm not sure I really believe that unless I don't know, Zion gets hurt again or Brandon. I don't know. If I had to choose, I would probably choose the Celtics trade if I were the Nets. If I'm the Celtics, I probably don't do that.
Yeah.
But like I said, Jason Tatum's on his way out.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I mean, for the Celtics, what's been rumored if there were to be a deal, the Nets asked for Jaylen Brown. Actually, a report came out today. I don't know how reliable the source is, but they said that the first initial offer was when the first ask of the Nets was Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, which we all know that would probably never ever happen. But I've been hearing Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and a lot of picks. In my deal, my reasoning behind it is like, okay, Robert Williams, you got through the first two rounds. You got through the Nets. You got through the Bucks with pretty much him on one leg and him missing every other game, not at 100%. So you could get around that. KD can play the small ball five. He's done it for the Nets the past two seasons. I'm not saying you rely on him. Grant Williams is a guy that you just have to throw him in there to make the money work. You also get back in this hypothetical trade. You also get back Seth Curry and Daron Sharp as the two complementing pieces to Kevin Durant. Seth Curry, we know he's been pretty good these past two seasons. He's starting to grow into a really quality player, and he has about two more seasons where he could keep doing this at a high level. Like I said, I wouldn't, if I was the Celtics, I made a video on this. I wouldn't do anything at all. I mean, you beat Kevin Durant, you already, but since it's been thrown out there, I think that's the most appealing offer if I'm the Brooklyn Nets. And for the New Orleans Pelicans, you have to get Brandon Ingram back. And the one thing about this Pelicans trade that I really liked is the Pelicans keep their own picks, so they have control of their own future. You give up the Lakers picks, which we just saw was a lottery pick. It's gonna, and they give up the Milwaukee pick too. So I mean, you're keeping your own picks. Herb Jones is a guy you probably don't want to give up, but to make the deal sweeter, you got to throw him in. Jose Alvarado as well. Devontae Graham, kind of considered a bad contract in my eyes, so that's why I'd say Pelicans trade would be appealing to them. But I know you got some trades as well, so let's see what you got.
All right. So one of the major things that I was hung up on some of the KD trades is the Ben Simmons element.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ben Simmons a lot more than most people do as a player, but I also think that he's not valuable enough as his own player to actually be worth the Nets in keeping, especially if it's hanging up a lot of KD trades.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main Ben Simmons things, I if the Nets really want like the good KD trades, like I'm talking like if they go into the season, either KD's holding out or it the atmosphere just becomes too toxic over the course of the year. I'm saying at the trade deadline, we might need, and plus, who knows what Ben Simmons is going to be in the middle of the year. So I'm saying maybe look to the Thunder, see what they might be able to give up for Ben Simmons because the Thunder could use them. Ben Simmons doesn't really have any leverage. You might want to give up Ben Simmons for Shea picks, maybe throw in Poku for salary. And I'd say you just do that, and then you can move KD to places like the Nuggets to get off that designated rookie extension. Nuggets for Murray and Porter. You can move KD for Jaren Jackson Jr. Possibly throw in Desmond Bane, although I don't think they would do that. You might need Dylan Brooks.
So
And
so what you're saying is basically Ben Simmons is the holdup in all this Kevin Durant talks, right? He
right,
can't be traded in all these scenarios because uh, Ben Simmons
designated
has a
rookie.
rookie, the designated rookie extension. So what you're saying is like if we were to hypothetically move off Ben Simmons first, what
Right,
doors open up for Kevin Durant? So as you were
right.
saying, the Nuggets, Grizzlies, you have any trade packages on what like this would look like?
I don't have the specific salaries, but I do know Murray and Porter were both held up in the trade extensions, and I'm saying Jokic and Durant would just be an absolute nightmare for teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, oh, you can even no, I'm not going to say it. How do you feel about Ben Simmons to your Lakers? Just throwing it out there.
um, to be honest, man, I'm really high on Ben Simmons. Like I really value him, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind having him with LeBron. It sounds crazy at first. I know the Russell Westbrook experiment. Like I'd sound
right.
crazy for saying this, but
I would be
Ben
more.
Simmons
I
plays
would be.
defense and he's a playmaker, so I would
I
say
would
it
be
would
more
work.
apt to do that if the Nets still had their pick and they could tank, but they don't have that because they traded
Mm-hmm.
it for Royce O'Neal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
unfortunately, but if I'm the Nets and you really want to get this done, I would have to trade Ben Simmons and try to get KD, and all the KD trades will open up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking the Nuggets. Like, how do you feel about the KD to the Nuggets for
Um,
Murray and Porter? And
so
they
for
don't
Murray
they
and
don't
Porter, I would
they don't
say
have the immediate picks.
okay. So they don't have the media picks. You know what? I think Porter would have to be in the deal, and I think you'd have to include Murray. If I'm the Nuggets, I'd be reluctant on giving up both. I'd probably want to just give up one, depending on the pick situation. I mean, you said it. You already said it. KD and Jokic on the same team. That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's like
yeah,
two top five players on the same team.
exactly.
So it'd be similar to like the Lakers situation. You just fill it out really nicely. And what they have there is KCP. They have who else did they bring in? Oh, Bruce Brown. They got a lot of solid players. Bruce Brown played with the Nets with KD,
Right.
so like there's some familiarity. I would like it. I like the deal, and I think for the Nets you get back two players who can contribute pretty nicely. And I think even if you were to keep, if you were to if Michael Porter Jr. were to be sent back to the Nuggets, that means Ben Simmons has to be off the team, right?
He
To the
has to be
Nets.
gone
Okay,
for both Murray and Porter.
so how I would see it is like you'd have to have something lined up to where like you'd get assets from the Ben Simmons deal where it complements Porter Jr. and Murray. So it would probably take a lot of like it would long nights of like coming through the trade machines and stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, I would like that deal. I mean, I want to get into more to the Grizzlies deal though, because that I'm more
Ooh.
intrigued in that one because they have a lot of assets. They got a lot of young players, and we just saw they just were the 2 seed. They went to the second round. What does the trade look like for the Memphis Grizzlies?
Like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr. may have to be in the deal, especially considering his injury history. Who knows what he's going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really like him. I don't. If I'm the Grizzlies, I would hold up giving him across the trade. I would go for maybe Desmond Bain and Dylan Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, the Grizzlies have a lot of picks. A lot of picks.
Yeah.
If they really want to mortgage it, they could just do that and then just fill it out with some salary guys along with probably they have to either give up Bain or JJ. I don't think they it's either one or the other. I don't think they give up both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, okay, so the Grizzlies are a tricky one because we just saw them have a really good season. The thing
Yeah.
about teams like this that have a breakout season is like they have a lot of eyes on them. So next year, I'm projecting them to do a little bit worse than what they did this year, only because like a lot of teams more focused. Like this offseason, a lot of coaches did film. They did their studies on this Memphis Grizzlies team. How do we contain them? How do we do this and that? Um, I'm not so sold on Jaren Jackson Jr. I'll put this out there. Like in the playoffs, too many bad fouls, inconsistent like scoring wise. He's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player. I like Desmond Bain a lot. I think his skill set is like transferable to any situation. Like I think
Is it
he reminds me
KD?
of Clay. He reminds me of Clay Thompson. Like he reminds me of Clay Thompson in the role where it's like a catch and shoot, efficient shooter, and a guy that's like he bailed him out so many times during that Timberwolves series. Like he was there for them, um, almost all the games. So I think if you pair up John Morant, Desmond Bain, and KD, that's a great starting point, and then you fill out the roster from there. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, so I guess it's debatable on who you want to give up. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. would get you the deal. So if I were the Grizzlies, I would be reluctant a little bit to hold up Jaren Jackson Jr. But if I know that the deal will be on the table for Kevin Durant, including Triple J, I would do it. Um,
You
so
really
yeah, I
that high
mean,
on Desmond Bain over KD?
yeah,
Because you
no,
think
no, 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 no.
because
I would
like
like I wanted KD and Desmond Bain to be on the same team, so it would be Jaw, Desmond, and KD, and then you fill out the rest of your roster.
the
I'm
reason why
really
I
just
would the reason why I would be more hesitant to keep Jaren Jackson is because he's their key cog on defense. And like I know
mhm,
Desmond Bain can defend, but there's not a lot of bigs that can switch like JJ does.
that's
And I
true.
think that's
Yeah,
incredibly important for the playoffs. We don't know he might for all we know, JJ might develop a little more and become like this. I'm not saying he'll become like Anthony Davis or anything, but he can be he can be like a legit star. And the only reason I said like maybe JJJ over Desmond Bain is because I think the Nets would want JJJ more than
yeah,
Desmond Bain,
and that's partly what I was
so
saying
they would
too.
have to
Like,
give up less.
yeah, you'd have to give up something pretty big, and that's what I'm trying to say is like they it wouldn't be the end of the world if they gave up Jaren Jackson Jr. Like I think they'd still be really really good without him. But like we talked about his injury history in the playoffs, just like he probably learned from it, but he did foul a lot of times, and like it was just the worst moments. IQs, like
Yeah,
I really think he's a great player, like I said, but I wouldn't be opposed to them giving him up. Are there any other teams out there that could be making the KD trade if Ben Simmons were removed?
if Ben Simmons were removed, there's also the Suns. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I I put this last of the three. I don't know. I don't know if the Suns want to give up Booker,
Mm-hmm.
but I think if I were them, it would be a good idea to consider because I
You
just
think
think
so?
KD. Look, Chris Paul's getting old. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like I like Devin Booker as much as the next guy, but he's not KD. Not right now, at least.
True. But I would say like I don't know. I think in order to win a championship, if you were the Suns, you have to have Kevin Durant and Booker, and then the rest you'd figure out. Chris
Not Chris
Paul.
Paul.
I just think Chris Paul is just he's a great player and he's still giving really good production. He's just too much injury. Like he's injury riddled, and like he's getting older. Like he's getting older, he's not gonna get more healthier, in my opinion. I think it'd be a huge risk to have two guys over 34 on your team that are like your key players to win a championship. I would my trade package for the Suns and the Nets would probably be Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. You'd probably have to throw in Cameron Johnson, and then that leaves you with CP3, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. and they still, depending on if they give up any picks, they have all their picks. The Suns have all their picks going forward. So if you just play your cards right, you could have a nice roster to fill out. And I feel like for the Nets, if you were to get back Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, that complements. I does anything interfere with the Ben Simmons from the Suns? Does Mikal Bridges? I don't think he's on.
Booker would, but
Booker would.
Not
so
Aiden,
this is
not
what
Aiden. Yeah,
I don't think Booker could be. Yeah, Booker can. Yeah, Booker's already on his 5-year deal, and it seems like they don't even want to get off of him because like, obviously like he's their guy and he's been their guy. He's probably a guy that's going to retire there. So yeah, like I said, it would probably look like Mikal, DeAndre, Cameron Johnson, which is not bad around Ben Simmons. Like you add two defensive players. Cameron Johnson is a guy who can space the floor out. Right. So that's how it would look for me if it were to be a Suns deal, and I don't think it's a bad like for either side. I think it come down to the pick situation as well because the Suns, like I said, have all their picks. Right. So just the protections, and we learned at SBC like you have to have protections. Like unprotected picks is just a no. Like we talked about over there with the Wolves. Like that's a really high bet that you're placing on yourself. You know, so.
Any quick thoughts on the Wolves?
Oh man, I talked about it with Corbin on a recent episode. I don't know, man. I'm not that.
I don't like it. I'm just gonna say that.
I'm intrigued by it. I wouldn't say I disliked it at first, but then it started to grow on me. But anyways, Kevin Durant. I even heard out there those they had made a deal. They had offered a trade package to the Nets, the Timberwolves, and I wouldn't look Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not really a big fan of Karl-Anthony Towns.
Neither am I.
I wouldn't be shocked if they were I wouldn't be opposed if they were to do a Kevin Durant for Karl-Anthony Towns.
They don't have the picks anymore though.
They don't have, and that's what it is. But can you imagine Edwards, KD, and Rudy Gobert? Like that's not bad. That's that I can see. Like everyone's banking on Anthony Edwards to have this big 30-year leap. To have KD alongside that, to not have so much pressure on Anthony Edwards would be huge.
You think KD would go to Minnesota? Sorry to cut you off.
So this is actually let's get into this. So that's the question with every trade. Like, does he want to be? Yeah. So, and that's what everyone's been saying. So like some of these trades will be held up because he doesn't want to be in this market, like the New Orleans, like the Toronto Raptors, which we haven't even gotten to the Raptors yet.
I think he would want to go to New Orleans. I don't think.
Yeah, so
I think New Orleans is good enough.
I think Kevin Durant, he's a hooper. Like he's a guy that he wants to play. Like we've seen him before. He just wants to play. He doesn't. I think it has to be such a terrible situation. Like he has to really not want to be there for us to see something like, oh, he's asking out again or something like that, you know? So I think Kevin Durant's going to play wherever he goes. And I think he'll have to be sold on the idea. Like for the New Orleans example, like I think him and Willie Green have a great relationship that they had in Golden State, you know? So like he could be sold on some of these smaller markets.
But would that also make it more interesting for him to stay with the Nets? Because he just wants to hoop, and that gives the Nets leverage.
So what I've been saying is I think he's going to stay, and I think the best situation is for him to stay because whatever team you're trading him to is going to have to give a lot back, and it's not like he's just joining them. It's not like he's just being added onto it. You're going to be giving up a lot. But go ahead.
I think the problem is there's clearly something going on between him and the management at the Nets.
Yeah,
like I don't think it's simply just hoops with Brooklyn right now.
True.
I think he took something personally, and I think he just wants out. I don't think he wants out enough to go to like the Jazz, but like I think.
Yeah, well, but look, he has no one to blame but himself. Like he came,
but he doesn't view it that
Kyrie.
Way. Yeah.
No, but that's the problem. Yeah. That's what I feel like. That's just the problem. That's the KD thing where it's like, dude, you're the one that had your team waste valuable assets, money to get a guy like DeAndre Jordan who was on the way out, and I don't know how he's still getting contracts today. The Harden deal. Look, the Harden deal, I would do 9 times out of 10 because it's James Harden. At the time, James
Yeah,
Harden was, come on, he was James Harden. Um, and they were great together when they all played.
right.
But you had your team get rid of Kenny Atkinson. You didn't like the coach, this and that. Kenny Atkinson preferred Jared Allen over DeAndre Jordan. You
Yeah,
guys said, nah, you're making your bed. You have to lay in it. Last summer, you signed an extension for 4 years. If you really felt that way, you don't sign the extension. You go into free agency this year.
he
This is the
hired
bet.
Steve Nash. He did. He hired Steve
You guys
Nash
asked for Steve
or
Nash, and
signed off
now
on it.
exactly
Yeah,
you guys signed off on it, and
and now
now
you
it's
don't want
not.
him.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this is where it's like you need to take some self blame. You need to be responsible for your actions. Like Sean Marks and Josiah and all these dudes they're listening to what you guys are saying. All right, it doesn't work. And I've talked about this in my videos before. Like when you let players run your organization, 9 times out of 10, it is never going to work unless you're prime LeBron James, 2018, making moves to get to the
I think
finals.
the difference with LeBron is LeBron more or less knows what he's doing a lot more than
Yeah,
KD does.
yeah,
Like
and yeah,
he knows how teams fit together. He's not going to be loyal to someone like Kyrie just for the sake of
yeah, exactly. It's
friendship.
business. He knows
Yeah.
it's business as well, and I don't think Kevin Durant understands that. Um,
Do we want to talk about Kyrie real quick? About
that's exactly what I was going to get into. So if Kevin Durant the trade would be resolved, do you
yeah,
see the Nets settling for like a Lakers trade or just
it's tough
getting
because
pennies on the dollar, or do you see him staying long term?
the problem is I don't see Kyrie staying long term anywhere. But I think the Kyrie thing, the only place you can really like see him going and not causing a problem is with the Lakers with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that, the Lakers don't really have anything for
Yeah,
him unless the unless the Nets get desperate, which I don't see them doing because Joe is pretty stubborn. Like
yeah.
now trading him to the Lakers, I could see maybe a Clippers trade for Paul George,
I
but
don't think so.
at the same time,
I
like
don't think
Paul
so.
George is just more valuable. I'm just saying if
Yeah,
Paul George like were to get hurt or something,
I
maybe
think
at the trade
Kyrie's value
deadline.
is
But
so low. The Nets are valuing him very highly, and I don't think so because he's on an expiring contract. And we just saw this summer how he just took over the media in every way imaginable. Whether it's interviews, going on social media
I
himself,
mean, he caused the
telling
protest.
agents. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like his
Yeah,
value is at an all time low. Like, and I think this is a stock where it's like you should buy. And like for the Lakers, the thing that's holding up for them is probably these first round picks. Which if that's what's holding up the deal, I would go ahead and do it. But Kyrie Irving realistically is not worth 2 first round picks. I'm protected at that
right.
because he's on an expiring deal. We've seen the problems. We've seen the COVID stuff.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think the Nets are going to trade him for Russell Westbrook and future picks,
Well, I don't.
especially since the Nets don't have their first round pick this year, so they can't just tank.
Yeah, I don't see. I think there has to be a deal in place for Russell Westbrook to go to a third team and then be immediately bought out, and then that team will receive draft compensation or whatever it is, where the Nets get a pick and the team that they're sending Westbrook to gets a pick. That's how I see what it would view out. I don't see the Nets taking on Russell Westbrook. That doesn't really seem realistic to me. But
Yeah,
also Russell Westbrook, like to make this clear, like he's not a bad player. He just is in a bad
right.
situation. Like he just took the Wizards to the playoffs the year before that, and like I know it was 2 years ago,
I
whatever. It was last year, 2021.
I don't
Um,
know. I didn't like what I saw at all from
of
Westbrook
course,
last year.
yeah. I didn't. I'm
I'm
a
just,
Laker. I watched every game and I hated it, and I still hate the thought of him being on our team. But
I brought,
he it was just a bad fit. He needs to be on a team where he's probably the main priority with the ball. Like I
but
just
there would
thought it
have
was a
to be
bad
on.
fit.
It has to be on like a tanking team
Yeah, and I think
or
like look, so Russell Westbrook, wherever he goes to, he'll still generate revenue, as in like people want to go see him. Jersey sales will probably go up a little bit. A team like the Indiana Pacers, the Spurs, the Jazz, these are teams that I would see them starting the season off playing him, getting his value up, then shutting him down like John Wall. You shut him down after a month or two into the season, then you go full tank mode. You know, like Russell Westbrook's not going to win you that many games. Um, So like I can see a team just bringing them in first 2 months, first month and a half, playing them, letting them go all out and get your start the season because you're not going to start the season off tanking. You're not going to start the season off rebuilding because it's not good. It's not a good look for business. Like we saw with the Portland
Unless you're the
Trailblazers,
Jazz and Danny
unless,
Ainge.
unless you're the Jazz, but the Portland Trailblazers, they started off with Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons. They shut down Dame a month or two in this season. Simons right before the trade deadline. So like I could see a team bringing on Russell Westbrook and like using him for like a month or two, shutting him down, maybe buy him out. Um, so
I think
yeah,
the problem
I don't.
with Russell Westbrook on young teams is that it might mess with the development. I think that's just their thinking. I don't know if
Yeah, but like I said, it's only for it would only be
it's
for a month or
expiring
two. Where
contract
it's
though. So yeah,
yeah, it's an expiring
yeah, you're right.
contract only for a month or two. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. I don't think he's impossible to move off of. Like there's a team that would there was a team that would be willing to take that, in my opinion.
I
And
think
if you can
I
get a
think he's.
conversation like a draft pick, go ahead, do it.
I, I like Russell, but I just wouldn't touch him if I were
True.
like a
Yeah,
young
true.
team. If I was a competing team, it's just too hard for me. He
Yeah,
just doesn't he
and
doesn't
that's
really fit
fair.
in anywhere. Yeah,
Well, yeah, of course. That's fair. I think that's not it's not surprising news. So
yeah.
I just think of it from standpoints like you're not if you any team were to take him in a salary dump or whatever, it's not like you're gonna be incorporating him to your long term, short term. It's just gonna be for this contract. Maybe you buy him out at the deadline. Like I don't see it being I think it's being overlooked. If you do get compensation, like I said, like a first round draft pick, go ahead. I'll take on Russ for an unprotected first round pick where the Lakers could be bad by 2027 and like they could not have. I would take that chance just for like 30 days of Russell Westbrook. Like, what is that? Like 15 games of Russell Westbrook. That like teams only win 15
Yeah.
games. So like he's not gonna. I don't think it will change any direction of any team that picks him up. So, but let's get back to the Kyrie situation. Like,
Okay.
if the Kevin Durant were to be moved off, you think Kyrie would stay like with the Brooklyn Nets? Like, how do you see that vision? Because they would have to pay him next summer.
Uh, that would require predicting Kyrie's moves, which is nearly impossible. But
Yeah, true.
if I were the Nets, I would just keep him. Uh, I guess what's one more year of Kyrie? I mean, if he plays, if he doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
you get off the contract at the end of the year
Yeah,
anyway. So it's either he plays or doesn't. It'll be messy, of
yeah.
course.
I I
But
was I would just say, I mean,
what can you do?
if you're not going to trade him to the Lakers, then you have to resign him because you can't lose him for
Right.
anything. And I think his value could go up as the years go on. Like if depending on how you work the
Like,
contracts,
do you see any other Kyrie trades outside of the
I
Lakers?
I don't
Because
I
I
don't.
don't. Yeah.
I mean, I could see the Mavericks. Since they did lose Brunson, you have like contracts that you can match up with in Bertans. Off the top of my head, Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber. These are
I think the
contracts that you.
Mavericks would be better off just waiting till the end of the year if they wanted them.
But like just
Yeah.
for the sake of just like other trade ideas,
Right.
that's the team that I could see like Luca and Kyrie. Like, come on, that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
crazy. Like that I think that could
I
get them
could
to the
I
championship.
I could
They went to
also
the
see
conference
foresee
finals.
I could also foresee them get having problems like within 2 months, just like personal problems.
Yeah, like Porzingis
Yeah.
and Luca, like it could very well happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just how much you trust in your team, trust your coach, trust your organization to like get guys like this. I think KD and Kyrie, what's best for them is to be separated right now. That's why I'm saying like if KD were to be moved, Kyrie like long term, like it wouldn't be a bad idea keeping him. He has his own team, fresh start or restart, whatever you want to call it. And I,
He claims that Brooklyn Nets were like his team, like growing up.
yeah,
I
and
I'm not sure I believed that, but he might be a Knicks fan. Who knows?
no,
Who knows?
I think he is a Nets fan because I've seen a lot of pictures of him as a baby, like
Oh
with
really?
Nets gear and stuff. But I mean, we'll have to see. I guess
Okay.
it's just all spec. This is all speculation until it
You're right.
goes down. And it sucks that this whole summer has been this. Like it's all just where's KD gonna go, and we're all getting tired of it as well. Like when we hear new reports, it's like all right, like can something
Yeah.
happen? Until it's like you got to see it to believe it. So
He doesn't like the way Josiah walks or talks or
yeah,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
just little stuff, and it's like I feel like the biggest thing we need to do to resolve this situation is be self aware and like see where you went wrong first before pointing fingers at everyone else. And I think that goes for everybody.
Right.
Joe Tsai, goes for Sean Marks, KD, Kyrie.
I think that's a problem with stars in the league, though. They don't
Yeah,
really have,
of course,
because
of course.
they've been told they're great, and they are great since they're a teenager,
Yeah,
maybe
but
even less.
I think there's a majority of players though that like understand. Like you see like the TikToks of like LeBron, Bradley Beal talking to younger guys, telling them like you need to be a role, not be a role player, but star in your role, this and that, understand things. I think a lot of players get it. It's just I can see Kevin Durant's point where he's like, I've been I took you guys to this. We go into game 7 versus the Bucks, this and that, game 6, whatever
Yeah.
it was. Like I've doing this. You haven't put a team around me. You guys got rid of James Harden. I can see where he's coming from, but like you have to understand, like he has to understand that he put them in that situation to like give up these assets and stuff, and like it didn't work out. So yeah,
I
I
think the
mean,
real question is, like, what does he want? Because based on his
yeah,
actions, what he's really wanted is, I guess he wants all the credit, but he wants to do the least amount of work possible to get all the
he wants
credit. And
zero
that's not
blame
saying,
too.
yeah, and that's not saying that he wants to do no work or he's lazy or whatever. That's just saying, like, hey man, I don't want to be like struggling every year. Which,
Mm-hmm.
who can really blame him? Like, I mean, I don't want to do work, and I want to get awards for not doing any work. That world just doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think what it's going to come down to is like everyone taking accountability for their own actions. And then maybe we find a happy medium somewhere. Maybe Kevin Durant, like, all right, you know what? I messed up in this way. You guys messed up in that way. He's like, let's resolve this. We got a good team right now as it is. You picked up
Yeah,
TJ Warren, Royce O'Neal. Got some good players. I mean, um, they have a good roster as is. Yeah. So hopefully this all gets resolved soon and we're just not coming up with ideas and ideas and ideas of like, where's this guy going to go? This and that. So that's going to conclude this episode, Sean. Thank you so much. This was fun, man. It was cool putting up some trade ideas. And like, I feel like this is probably the most in-depth conversation I've like had so far of just like where things could go and line up, like the Ben Simmons point. Like if Ben Simmons were to be moved, what other doors are open for a Kevin Durant trade? So I want to thank you for taking the time on to join me on this podcast. And yeah, man, thanks.
good talking to you. See ya.